Hi, welcome back to the workshop. Today we are looking at KR Model's brand new Southern Railways Leader. Now Mike, this is the very first time this has ever been produced in double O gauge, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, I think it's actually the first time it's ever been produced in any scale ready to run. This is unusual in terms of steam locomotive design, pretty much about as unusual as they come.
It really is. So for those people who don't know about the Leader at all, what was the idea behind it and how did it work?
Well, this is essentially a Bulleid design where he was trying to push steam technology as far as he could. I mean, Bulleid was already known for his pushing of technology when it came to things like the air smooth Pacifics and things like that. But the Leader took it to a whole nother level. So it's still a conventional steam locomotive in terms of having a boiler, firebox, coal space, water space. But after that, everything is basically different.
Right, fair enough. So as far as the drive gear underneath it, it's more chain link rather than your conventional.
Yes, it's got sleeve valves, which and cylinders. So it's still got steam cylinders to move back and forth to drive it. But it uses a chain-driven system alongside that to actually power the mechanism and move the wheels. So all the big boxes alongside the wheels and the bogies, they've all the drive system inside there. And then inside the bogies is where all the actual rods and pistons are that operate all that.
Fascinating. I mean, maintenance heavy, fascinating.
Well, the idea was that actually it was supposed to become more maintenance free. It was supposed to be about moving the steam technology forward. So it's things like you've got a driving cab at both ends of this. Instead of having a driving cab in the middle of the loco with very little vision, there was a driving cab at both ends. There was an unfortunate position for the fireman, which apparently was very, very warm, which you wouldn't be surprised by. The fact is in a little compartment in the middle of the locomotive.
Fully enclosed,
yeah. But again, there's a massive story to this, and there's some really detailed books about Leader explaining things like at one point they're looking at oil firing. That's one of the reasons they had an offset fire hole door inside the fireman's area. There's so many things that need to be changed on it as well, because it was a really experimental locomotive. Like I say, you look at this, and on first glance, if you've never seen Leader before, you might think it was possibly a diesel locomotive.
Hi, I'm Gareth from Trains for You. Based in the heart of Peterborough, we've been serving the region's modelling needs for the last 20 years. We stock all major scales from N to O, with a huge selection of new and quality used models on display, along with kits, power and control, scratch building materials and everything else you might need for your model railway. We're official stockists of Cavalex models, KR models, Revolution trains, Acura scale, and we're also a stockist of Hornby TT120, as well as all the major manufacturers and suppliers. We have a huge showroom with displays spread over 2 floors. Our showroom is open 6 days a week, and you can find us at some of the major exhibitions around the UK. Come pay us a visit, either in-store or online at trainsforyou.com.
So it was a one-off, it didn't last all that long, but here it is in model form for the very first time. What is powering this particular model?
Okay, so it's got a big, powerful 5-pole motor sat in the middle of this with a pair of brush flywheels, and they provide drive to all axles of the bogies. So whilst you say it looks like a diesel, in terms of model technology inside it, it's very much a diesel locomotive chassis inside of this.
Right, and despite appearances, it's actually a very powerful locomotive, and as you see on the video, we've actually had this pulling the 8 Bachmann Mark 1 coaches with absolute ease around the layout today.
Yes, well, we actually tested it with 12 coaches behind it in total, and even that it wasn't bothered about. It's unlike, steam locomotives, there's plenty of powerful steam locomotive models, but they tend to rely on a single axle drive with the connecting rod taking the power out to the wheels, whereas this is a full gear drive system like you find in a Class 66, for example, or a Class 50 or a 60 or whatever it may be, one of those big heavy freight locomotives in terms of the diesels, and it's got all that inside.
The other thing which I find quite fascinating is even though the Leader wasn't preserved, no one really knows what it sounds like, there is actually a sound profile for this locomotive.
There is, yeah, so it's been developed by ESU for KR models, as far as I understand, and basically I think they've taken some of their experience producing sound files for things like the mallet locomotives in Germany, to create a sound file that it represents a steam locomotive sound. It's got all those ancillary functions, and then one of the interesting things is it actually has a fade in and out of sync between the two drive units. So you can hear that kind of slop of things which aren't quite perfectly attuned to each other.
Very similar to, as you say, a melee or a garage. You get that, the synchronization gets lost and it comes back together again.
Exactly, yeah.
That is fascinating. And as far as livery choices are concerned, we've obviously got the very bright silver one over here with the black and red lining, but there are 5 variations available.
Yeah, so there are other variations available from KR models. There's technically 2 accurate ones, just about. So whilst there was only ever one of them was completed, there were 3 that were partly built. 36001 carried this silver grey livery with the lining on it whilst it was doing its test running. But there are then also photographs of it in the starting of BR Black as well. It was expected to be turned out in BR Black just before the whole project was cancelled. So KR Models has done as it was in its experimental prototype form when it did its trial runs, which is what we've got on the layout here. They're doing a BR Black version, then they're doing a couple of fictitious liveries as well to broaden the spectrum of where Leader might fit in. So if you fancy something a little bit different for your layout, you can go further into the future of what Leader might have been.
Well, those livery options do sound good, and a lot of people do enjoy that whole what if fictitious thing. But what about the quality of the model itself?
Okay, so it's got the overall shape and dimensions of the Leader look like what it's supposed to look like. There's a few little details which aren't quite perfect with it, and there's little details like, for example, the BFB Bulleid Firth brown wheels. They shouldn't have fully see-through teardrops on them. There's a couple of washout plugs missing from the top of it, on top of the boiler as well. But overall, there's an overall picture. It does look like Leader, but there are a few details of it.
Now, as far as availability and price is concerned, when can we expect to get our hands on these?
So they're due to arrive with KR Models stockist literally as we're talking now in the video, so during October, November. And they're priced at £185 for the DCC ready versions, £215 for a DCC fitted version, and £285 for a DCC sound version.
Fantastic. Well, look, if the Southern Railway is your cup of tea and you've always had a bit of an interest in the Leader, then this particular model here from KR Models may very well be for you. You can read a full review written by Mike over here in HM209, our November edition of Hornby Magazine, which is on sale right now. And of course, you can read much more about the Leader in keymodelworld.com. In the meantime, though, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.